My name is Chris Wagner and I'm a farrier. I've been a farrier for 12 years. I work predominantly in an equine podiatry clinic, deal with a lot of lameness, work one-on-one with several vets, and I see a lot of common problems in the horseshoeing industry that I think this product could potentially prevent. My business is solely based on fixing problems and repairing problems that we have in performance horses, and I think that it could possibly be easier to look at preventing these from ever happening. Obviously, these horses are athletes and they will have injuries, and there's a time and place for every device we use on a horse's foot. However, I think this is a great product to prevent injuries and a great product to keep things from happening that traditional shoes, I believe, can cause.
The basic anatomy of a hoof, in layman's term, you're always talking hoof wall, sole, and the frog. And basically, the way they were designed, they're barefoot. And those different anatomies share that load of the horse's foot. We change it when we put a shoe on. Those bulbs should go up and down like shock absorbers. And we have it on film where they move very easily. If you don't believe me, when he's barefoot, just use your hands and you'll move that foot around. It's very pliable. Once again, that's the way it's designed to be. We put on these heavy shoes and that's when the problems arise. And that's why that is the big thing the barefoot people have against horseshoes. And they are spot on. And that's where Razer came across with this shoe, trying to be the happy medium. We still have to have something to protect the horse's hoof for wear purposes. That'd be about it.
This is the Razer shoe by Razerhorse products. We have 4 sizes in a front and a hind pattern. So this is the front pattern and this is the hind pattern, designed for a quarter horse foot. Obviously this is not going to fit every horse's foot, but we found that a very high percentage of quarter horses had this shape of foot. One of the common things we see in quarter horses is that we really pull that shoe back and we want to pull that toe off them. So we found it was much easier to have a shoe that had a very bold toe from the beginning, so you didn't have to rework it as much. This is a very easy shoe to fit with this design and this shape. The hind shoe was designed for a quarter horse foot as well. Obviously there are going to be some feet that don't fit. We're not trying to fit this shoe directly out of the box. We're just trying to give you the best basic shape to start with. So on this outer edge, it almost has an outer rim to it. And this is almost like a half round. So it's very smooth. Now in the heel region, we've completely eliminated the checking so that this heel is very smooth. So every time these horses are coming in a forward direction, it slides. Because this outer web is very round and very smooth, and when they come in with their heel first, this is going to be smooth and not grab. That's very important. Now with the outer rim, when you do need that grab during the propulsion phase, you're going to get your traction that you need. But another reason this is very forgiving on a hind limb is because it flexes. This isn't going to lock the foot in. If the horse spreads a little bit when he goes to slide, he's not going to jam up in the hocks and their stifles. So this is very, very forgiving on a hind limb. Now we'll point out that obviously as a farrier, you are going to have some horses that have a very unique style. And I think it's very important that you guys address what style of horses you're working on to know if this is a good back shoe for them or not. But it's your job as a horse shearer to find out if this is something that works for you. I'd want to go over the toe clip. This is put on here in case you guys need it. We find the toe clip to be more beneficial than the quarter clips because they're pushing into the front of the shoe. If you don't need this, we can simply cut this off, we can grind it smooth, and you can set your shoe where you want it. Again, both these shoes have a little bit wider area in the heel, and this is very, very thin. This is a 5/16 outer rim, and it's only an 1/8 inch on this inner web. So this shoe is very thin. So this is the complete lineup of the Razer shoe by Razerhorse.
This shaper shoe is a result of a shape that we have used for years shoeing quarter horses. And we find that the majority of them have a foot this size and this shape. And if you make a shoe that fits the horses that you're working on, saves you a lot of time. We are very pleased with the shape that they have come up with, and it really does work well for everybody, the horse and as well as the farrier also.
Okay, what we have here is the Propad line designed by Razerhorse. There's 3 types of pads here, and they come in 2 sizes, small and medium. Our first pad here is the Propad Support. This is the entry pad. It has a frog support. All of these pads have frog supports, and they're all made of polyurethane. Polyurethane is a much higher quality material, and it's far more durable and superior that we find than any other material. This is the Propad SS Support Soft, and all of these pads have the same functioning behind them. The difference with this pad is it has a very soft material embedded within the heel region as well as the frog region. Now, this is very good material for absorbing concussion. The next pad we have is the SXS. This is a Support Extra Soft. On the shoe surface side of this pad, it looks to be the same. However, the main difference is on the frog surface. We have this very soft orange polyurethane that is directly on the frog versus this pad has the standard black material. So we have our 3 pad types, and we all know that there isn't one solution for every foot. So we have 3 types of pads for 3 different situations. Okay, I'd also like to point out that this pad can be used with any type of shoe you're currently using. If you have a particular shoe that you like and don't want to change, this pad can simply enhance that. And we have our sizes here, and I'd like to go over that. So our size small pad will fit our 000 through 0 shoe. You can use this pad with any other shoe. That's the size range typically. You can cut a little bit of this excess frog off if you have a very small shoe such as this 000, and we were to fit it right here, we would trim a little bit of this frog length off. Now for anything above an 0, we have the medium size pad, and this will fit your 1s, 2s, possibly a 3. Our shoe goes up to a 1, but you can use this pad with other shoes. And so for anything larger than an 0, you would want to use the medium pad. The other difference that I want to go over is the thickness of the pads. The medium pad, since this is a larger pad going on a larger footed horse, probably a heavier horse, the pad is just slightly thicker. So we have more mass going on the larger foot. So we don't need as much bulk and thickness to the small pad as we would like on the medium pad. So the medium pad is slightly thicker, about 1 millimeter, than the small pad. One other thing I'd like to point out is the thickness of the shoe and pad combination. A lot of these horses, you don't want a lot of bulk on the bottom of the foot. With a typical combination, you have a lot of mass when you add a pad and a thick shoe. So with this, you can add the pad and the shoe, and it's usually about the same thickness as a regular shoe alone. Another thing I'd like to point out here, when we attach the shoe to the pad, we have these bosses right here. This is what you can use to drill out and fix your rivet. If you don't have rivets or don't prefer to use rivets, this shoe works fine without a rivet. They're simply there if you need them. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some basic shaping on this shoe. There's a lot of guys out there that think since it's a tool steel, since the shoe's a tool steel or a tempered boreum tool steel, that you can't shape it. And I'm gonna show you guys, it's gonna be like magic before your eyes. We're gonna shape this into different types of shoes. And just to show you that there's no tricks here, we got a regular 2-pound hammer. This is my personal favorite. It's just a 2.5-pound short-handled hammer. It's just my personal favorite. And I'm gonna show you two types. I'm gonna do it on an anvil and I'm gonna do it on a stall jack just to show you guys this can be done. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna straighten these branches and we're gonna tighten it up. Say you have a boxy foot or a real clubby type foot. I'm gonna show you how this can fit your foot real easy. I'm gonna use lighter blows. You don't need to really beat on this shoe. So real lightly, I'm just gonna repetitively hit this shoe where I need it, moving down the branch. Just as if you were to regularly shape a shoe. Right there, you've straightened that branch. That easy. Then we're gonna go right to our cam and we're just gonna tap that shoe where we need it. Then we can flatten it out. And we go ahead and bring it in a little more. Flatten it out. Right there, you can see already we've straightened that branch and we brought it in. We're gonna do the other side. This time I'm gonna show you with a different hammer just to show you guys that you can do this with anything you got. So we're gonna move all the way down the branch, straightening that branch, using light blows. Then we're gonna go ahead and go to our cam and bring it in. Same thing, we'll go to our cam, bring it in, bring it in. Right there, you just made a boxy or a clubby type foot shape. Whatever you guys need this for, you can do it. Bring in that shoe however you need it. So right there, we have our reshaped shoe versus our original shoe. You can see how much that's been moved. Now something I want to point out when you guys are shaping on this shoe, it's an outer rim. So your inner web material has to go somewhere. So you can do this a couple of ways. It's whatever your preference is. You can either take this hammer and pound that flat, or when you're done shaping your shoe, what I like to do is just go right over to my grinder and knock these edges down. You don't want these big ridges and big edges. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you guys shaping this shoe on a stall jack. This is one of my personal favorites because they work better for outer rim type shoes. You don't have to have a stall jack to shape this shoe. This is just the way I like to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys with two different kinds of hammers. I don't care what you have, you can use it. And I'm gonna show you can shape this with anything you got. So right here we've got some grooves in this stall jack. I'm gonna straighten this branch and bring it in as if we were to have a clubby type foot. So I'm just using lighter blows. You guys can see I'm barely hitting this thing. I'm just tapping this. And you can see how much I just moved that. You can watch me move this shoe before your eyes. This is not impossible to shape. So then we're just gonna go ahead and bring the branch in. You wanna bring it in a little tighter? Use a hardy hole. Bring it in. Flatten your shoe back out. Right there we have our basic straight branch shoe. We go ahead and do the same thing the other side. I'm gonna show you with a different hammer. We're just tapping, 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 tapping. I'm not even wearing myself out doing this. This is too easy. I'm gonna go right over here. I'm gonna bring that in. Do whatever I gotta do. I'll flatten my shoe out. Right there, you have another clubby type shoe. Now let's say you want to make this a round shoe. Right here we got kind of straight quarters, we got a real broad toe. Let's say you want to make this really round. I can just go to my stall jack right here. I hit it a couple times. We just broaden that up. Same deal. Just gonna broaden that up. I'm gonna bring my branch in. Again, I'm not beating the heck out of this thing. I'm letting my tools do the work for me. I'm using the fulcrums of a cam to do the work for me. I know you guys are all upset you can't throw this shoe in the fire. But right there, you have another shape. We've kind of gone from a real broad toe with straight quarters to a very round shoe. You can do whatever you need. You want to bring it in a little more, bring it in a little more. deal. Bring it in where you need it. Flatten your shoe out. Once again, you want to get rid of any ridges you have here. It doesn't matter how you do it. We can hammer them out. We can take a grinder and we can run over it. We can do all that stuff. Now, one of the things that I personally like to do that might help you guys out when you block your nails is to just put a little race plate cup in there. You just want to cup that heel just a little bit. Just bump it a couple times. Not anything drastic. But you can see there we just have a little cup, so when you block those nails, your heel's not going to pop up. Okay, so this is still steel. If you hit it or your horse grabs it, it's going to bend. If you bend this beyond 70%, it will bend. That's why we're able to shape it with no problems. But the tempering process gives it just enough flexibility so that you're not going to restrict that movement of that foot. So you have just enough stability from the steel shoe, but you have the tempering process that allows it to flex to a certain degree. Okay, now we're gonna go over our fit. Now, since this foot will move and this shoe is designed to move with the foot, we're not restricting its movement in any way. Therefore, we don't need to fit as much expansion and we don't need to fit all the length to this shoe because you don't need all the support since it's a far thinner shoe and it sinks into the ground and the entire foot bears weight and is supported. Therefore, you don't need all the extra shoe for support. So as you can see here, we fit this shoe. This horse is at 4 weeks and you can see how tight this is. We have very little room for expansion along here, but it's not necessary. This foot will move and flex regardless of how tight this shoe is fit because you're not restricting the movement of the foot. We're going to be addressing some of the common issues that you horseshoers might be seeing with these barrel horses today. Okay, what we've got here is the right front foot on this barrel horse. And as you can see, this is a little bit of a low foot. We don't have much support. There's not much heel structure to this foot. What we're going to do is kind of show how this foot is shod right now. And then we will actually shoe this foot with the Razer shoe and a Propad and show you how you can benefit this foot and how you can help support this type of foot that so many of you are seeing on these horses nowadays. Here's the solar shot of our foot right here. This is traditional fullered shoe or a rim front shoe, or this is just a standard aluminum front shoe. As you can see kind of what this foot looks like from the bottom side before. And then we'll show you after we shoe this foot what this Propad can do for these type of feet. And I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of how we fit these shoes. They're fit a little bit differently than your traditional shoe. First of all, we're going to fit these heels a lot tighter than you typically would. The reason this is okay is that the shoe will actually open and close as the foot loads and unloads. So you do not need to fit near as much expansion with these shoes as you typically would a standard shoe. As you can see, that's pretty tight fit we've got. What we're going to do is go ahead and put a Propad on this shoe and we'll go ahead and get this nailed up. Got our shoe drilled out. We've got some little bosses here that we typically use for a rivet for this pad. Normally we recommend this split rivet, which has a split design, and we'll actually put it in backwards as your typical rivet. The reason we recommend that is that this pad has the soft material back here. With a hard copper rivet, that horse is just going to stand right on that rivet and you're going to get a corn or a bruise right in your heel. So we recommend these split rivets, which have come from the standard bred industry, where you can affix this pad without causing a bruise in your heel. And we'll flip it over and your split will be on this side. Typically I like to use a fuller and I'll just set it in that split just to open it up, and that opens up your rivet just like that. Then what I'll do is I can bend those over very easily, and as I said, we like to use those because that horse can stand on that and it's not gonna bruise that heel. But for those of you like us down here in Texas, it gets real hot and humid, and sometimes under these pads their feet tend to sweat in the summertime. So we've just shown here how you can cut this toe out and still get the full function of the frog support that is so vital on some of these low feet that we have. We find on these down feet that The reason they get so much worse is that you're stressing the wall and putting all the weight on your wall, and we want to distribute the weight bearing back through the frog as well as the sole, which most mimics the barefoot. And we're just going to show you the difference in the support between the left foot, which has a traditional aluminum shoe, and this right foot, which we've applied the Razer shoe with the Propad to get some full support on this foot. Right here what we're showing is the distance that the frog is off the ground. As you can see, this foot is completely lifted off the ground and all your pressure goes directly to your walls. So when this horse loads this foot, the soft tissues prolapse right down and there's no support for the bony column. Now with you see with this Propad, we have full frog contact as well as the support of our shoe. And with that full support, you're stressing the walls much less. Okay guys, what we're gonna do here is we've got our back foot shaped up and trimmed, got our hind shoe shaped. We're ready to go. I'm just gonna demonstrate. We have this toe clip on this shoe. It's your preference if you wanna use it or not. I personally like it. All I'm gonna do is just take a rasp, or you can use some half round nippers or whatever you prefer to set a toe clip. And I'm just gonna make my little notch right there so I can fit that right where I want it. So we've got our notch there for our toe. I'm just going to show you the final fit procedure. I like to bump this heel a little bit as if you're fitting a race plate. I'm just going to put a slight little cup to that shoe. And what I'm doing there is that when I drive those nails, I don't want this shoe to spring back up this way. So we've got that fit. And then I'm just gonna bump my toe clip at the angle I want. Pretty easy, pretty light little clip. Just use several light little taps and set it at the angle you'd like. And we'll check our fit one time. Should be ready to go. Okay, so we're gonna directly go over which nails to use with the Razer shoes. Right here we have a multitude of nails. We have some different sizes here, some different brands, some different varieties. And we've had a lot of guys asking questions about what nail to use with this shoe. I want to point out right now that we use a 4.5 nail. We can use a 4.5 race, we can use a slim blade, we can use an XL. There's a lot of good brands of nails out there in his horseshoes. We have a great selection of nails to use. But the head size is most important with this shoe. We don't want to use anything larger than a 4.5. So right here we have several 4.5 nails. And as you can see, they're all different shank lengths, shank thicknesses, and a little bit varying types of heads. I'm going to go ahead and put some of these nails in, and keep in mind these are all 4.5s. And you can see the difference in these nails. And what we want to showcase is the fit of these nails. It doesn't matter what brand, it doesn't matter any of that stuff. We just want to show you what the fit should look like. So these are all 4.5 nails. What we're showing here is that we do not want the nail head to stick out above the outer rim of the shoe. It's very important that this is flush or below the outer rim. Now if you have a particular nail that you really like to use that's a 4.5 head, such as this nail, but it's slightly above that, you can just go ahead and take your rasp and knock it down. My personal preference with the shoes, it's so light and so thin, we can use fewer nails and we can use thinner nails. So it's less invasive to the hoof capsule. Okay, another important feature is that using a fullered shoe, you're looking for that nail head to really lock in that fullering. The shoe does not do that because it's only an outer rim. So this is a 4.5 that fits very well, and you can see how that nail head just sits in there. It's not going to lock in place like a fullered shoe, that's okay. But you can see how these nails can vary if you need to pitch them in different directions. This is what we're looking for, is this very low profile, very thin nail. I'd like to show you the difference in a nail that we don't recommend versus one we do. Again, there's a lot of good brands out there. We're not telling you to use one brand over the other. All we're telling you is that your nail head size is very important. So right here, we have a correct nail versus 3 other nails that do not necessarily fit this shoe. So this is one of our 4.5 head nails, and it sits down in there nice and flush. And now we move into some 5s and even an E head. So this is a 5 slim blade, doesn't matter what brand. This is too large. The shank is very thick and the head's very large. Then we have an E head nail. As you can see, the E head sticks out well beyond the rim of the shoe and is far too large. Then we have another 5 race nail. The head's just a little bit large and the shank's large, in my opinion. I really like to see guys use a very, very thin nail. This shoe's extremely light, and the less nails and the lighter nails you can use, the better off you're gonna be. Okay, now we're gonna go over the basic trimming of these feet. It's nothing advanced. We just find that you need to leave a little bit of foot on these horses because it's similar to a barefoot, the way it functions. Okay, we're gonna just go over some basics of trimming this foot. I'm not gonna tell anyone how I think they should trim their feet. All I'm saying is that you just need to leave a little bit of foot on these horses as if they were barefoot. If you're trimming horses, I hope you don't take them down real short. So we're just gonna clean this foot just barely. I wanna leave quite a bit of sole. That's about all I'm gonna touch on that foot. And I'll show you what this looks like after I'm done and how much foot we have. These horses need some protection. This is like they're going barefoot. So, not gonna take a lot here. That's about all I'm gonna do. And a lot of guys are gonna say, well, you didn't cup out that sole for relief, any of that. I don't have any pressure at my sole because I don't take my feet that short. We're just leaving some foot in there. Now, if you let this horse go barefoot, he's gonna be really sound. We didn't take all that foot out. These horses can go a long way with a little bit of foot, but they can't go very far with no foot. So this is just to show you how much foot is actually on here. We didn't take out all that sole, we didn't pull all that out. I can do a lot more when he's got a little bit of foot. I don't have to worry about any sole relief or anything like that because we didn't take that much foot off of him. Okay, this isn't anything complicated. This isn't anything we're requiring anyone to drastically change their motives on the way they shoe horses. We're simply here to just provide a few tips to help guys out with some of the common questions we've had. Some of the most important things we feel about this shoe is to leave sufficient foot. I'm not going to dictate the way anyone shoes horses and trims feet. However, I believe that you're going to be more successful if you just leave a little bit of foot as if you were trimming horses to go barefoot. If you really take a lot of foot off these horses, the shoe is very thin and very low profile, and you're going to get sensitivity. So you really need to leave a little bit of sole depth in these horses as if your horses were going to be barefoot without protection. The second thing that I want to touch on is our nails. It's very important that you use a 4.5 nail. It doesn't matter what brand, it doesn't matter what type, if it's a race nail, a slim blade, or an XL. The most important part is the head size. We do not want this head to stick out over the outer rim of the shoe. And since this is a thinner and lighter shoe, we don't need as large a nail and we don't need as many nails in feet. So I find it's less invasive on the foot. The third thing we're going to touch on is our fit. We really got to fit this shoe tight. I've used this shoe for over 1.5 years now, and I had help from a farrier that's used it for over 8 years. One of the things we found that if you leave these shoes really full and really long, they grab them every time. And I was hesitant to fit these shoes tight because I want to leave some expansion and I want to leave some support. So that's a tough thing for guys to change, is that you don't need all the expansion and you don't need the length. The reason being is that this shoe will move with your foot. You're not restricting the movement of the foot as if you were with a rigid shoe. So you don't need all the length and you don't need all the expansion. One other thing I want to go over is that there's been a lot of talk that is people saying that we're claiming this fixes problems, and we're not. This isn't the silver bullet. This isn't going to fix all your problems. If you have a 30-year-old horse with a ring bone, this is not going to solve your problem. This is a good shoe to prevent lameness in sound horses. You're not restricting the movement of the foot, and I feel that if you never restrict the natural movement of the foot, you're going to do less damage to the horse. There's a time and a place for stabilization. I agree. That's why we're horseshoers. We always have the right tool for the right situation. However, I believe that this is a great preventative shoe. If you have really good sound feet, you can put this on your horse. The horse is going to perform excellent. The horse is going to feel good, and you're going to possibly prevent a lot of injuries. One thing I want to touch on is if you have older horses that have been used to rigid shoes their entire life, you need to look at those as an individual case-by-case basis, and this might not be the right option for them. You need to understand that this is drastically changing the way that horse moves. If a horse is used to being in rigid shoes his entire life, you've almost atrophied that entire foot. It's not functioning as a barefoot would. Therefore, some horses are not going to tolerate all that movement in a shoe, or some horses, maybe you need to stabilize the foot, or you have really weak walls and you need to provide support. That's your job as the horseshoer, to use the right tool for the right job. Again, this isn't going to fix all your problems. This is just a really good shoe that can prevent injuries from ever happening. This is going to revolutionize the industry, and this is a great opportunity to prevent problems before they've ever happened. This is the way to shoe horses. This is better than barefoot horse and better than anything we've ever put on a horse. And once people try it, they're addicted.